everyone. This is the August 22nd Town of Lewisboro Town Board meeting. For the folks here, we have exit towards the front of the building and exit towards the rear of the building. So if you will, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'll start with communication. So we received a letter from Dottie Podolak. She was the chair of our grants advisory committee, and she's stepping down. So she said, Dear Tony, it has been a learning experience for me to be a part of the grant advisory committee over the past year and a few months. At this time, I am submitting my letter of resignation, and I'm stepping down as of today, which is August 5th. It has been a privilege to get to know fellow members, Adam and Bob. They're both assets to this community. I hope that our paths cross again in the future. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. Volunteering is a privilege. So thank you, Dottie, for your service. And I'm sure we'll see you around town. The consent agenda, motion to approve consent agenda, which includes the minutes of August 8th.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Andrew, second.
All discussion, all in favor? Aye. Okay. New business, we'll start with the, sorry, public comment number one. I was focused on two. Thanks, Janet. So public comment number one, we'll start with that. Jump into that. Anyone in the audience? Any comments? Okay, how about over Zoom?
Yes.
Okay.
Simone, I'm asking you to unmute. Simone Petromelis.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I've asked Town Supervisor Gonsalves, Council Members Shaw and Welsh how they could deny Italian Americans the same $1,000 they so freely gave to two other groups who met the same criteria. And other than Council Member Welsh's proud stance against Italian Americans receiving money, there's been no reply. To answer by stating money would be given if the Italian Americans included other ethnic groups, but not have asked the same of the other two groups further demonstrates how prejudicial your no votes are. Second, I tried very hard to avoid speaking about the horrible water situation at Oak Ridge over and over, because we've been told that one day we'll get money and it'll be resolved next year, the year after, who knows. However, we were never told about all of the new condos and now apartments that are going to be built and tax an already overtaxed broken water problem at Oak Ridge. Our Greenback Council Member Welsh and the Sustainable Westchester seems to only care about lining his pockets instead of being concerned with over 1,000 residents not having proper drinking water. It leaves one to wonder what backroom deals are going on in this town. I, for one, would love to know. I'd like you to enforce a moratorium on further building at Oak Ridge. Further, Council Member Shaw recently stated at this month's planning board meeting she wasn't aware of any issues at the Juneteenth celebration. Why would you state that? Why would you imply or assume there would be any issues? Please tell me we're not going backwards and you're not buying into the false and slanderous accusations regarding our town and its residents freely thrown around by a former council member who came in dead last in her recent run for office. Finally, public comments need to be addressed. They shouldn't just be a venting session. Most of us have busy lives, and as you work for and represent us, we want, need, and deserve answers. Please answer questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simone. Next, I'm asking Marissa Beatty to unmute.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, good evening, town board supervisor and everybody else. I just wanted to let you know, Tony, that I am actually outside of the pool area right now. I have about 18 residents here. I have showed them where the new building is going to take place. We have a couple of concerns as residents as to the construction timeline and if it's going to impact our pools for next year, as that's almost $90,000 a year expense that we do budget, and that would be a lot of money for us to lose out, finding that, you know, we're not on the timeline that you had originally told us back in 2020. I'm also going to bring up the fact that in the last 2.5 years, I have been on the week in, week out, complaining about the quality of the water. You in 2021 were informed that there was going to be a request for 4 units. You promised that you were going to notify the Oak Ridge Water District if there was going to be any further development, in which I'm standing here with people that were completely unaware, and we're all completely unhappy. We think that it's unfair, and I will email you our letter, but I just wanted to be known that we would like to request a moratorium on future development at Oak Ridge Commons, Oak Ridge Condos, Conant Valley Estates, and Laurel Ridge, and any other areas that are served by the Oak Ridge Water District, effective ASAP. As you know, the Oak Ridge Water District wells, the plant, and the system have been exhibiting symptoms of fragility for many, many years. The town board and the planning board have been derelict in their duties to the citizens in the past with their regard to the recent development at Oak Ridge, namely their approval of a car wash and a daycare center, and these 4 other units. The CAC wrote to the town board and the planning board many, many times in 2018 and 2019, expressing extreme concern over our plant and our system. All of those will be in the email for you. I won't go into that because I don't want to waste my time. The town board and the planning board and the developer never addressed any of the CAC's concerns. In addition, the CAC was able to demonstrate that the capacity calculations provided by the developer were not accurate. I've asked you to please give us that information. I'm going to ask you to once again, please put all information about our wells and our capacity on the website. We would like to see one that's not from 2007 or 2014. We're in 2022 and we're doing a major expansion, and we should have current data. The fact that I have to repeatedly ask is unacceptable, and it's not fair. Given the above and the recent news from the developer that he plans to convert the Brother Vic space from the approved change of use space, which meant no renovation, no actual new space, just renovation of old space, into 4 residential units, is now turning into the construction of 16 3-bedroom units and 2 2-bedroom units, 6 of them which are going to be brand new townhomes. We request that the town board please
Thank you, Marissa.
moratorium on all
Your
future
time limits up.
development. If you don't, it's irresponsible, Tony, and it's just going to show us exactly the person that you really are, because you promised one thing during your election and one thing now. We have the money, you passed the bond, let's start the construction and give us an update. It's unacceptable. My 3 minutes are up, but there's 18 other people here who would love to speak, I'm sure.
Thank you, Marissa.
Please do not keep shushing me.
Okay, the timer is up. Thank you, Marissa. And Thursday.
That's it? Okay. So next we have, on the new business, we have authorization for the supervisor to sign a memorandum of agreement with UPSO. And that is, UPSO is the United Public Service Employees Union. They sent us a memorandum of agreement, basically to disclaim all interest whatsoever in the representation of the maintenance bargaining unit of the town. So, so I'll need a motion to, so just I think the board has been updated. So basically this is the maintenance employees had wanted to be or use or work with UPSO as the collective bargaining representative for their employees. This was back in October of 2021. And they now are looking to change that and use a different collective bargaining representative. So this is it's a memorandum of agreement that I received from UPSO, asking for me to sign this to make it official.
I just want to ask council this is something they have the right to do, and we're just ratifying something that's their decision as to what union representation, how they want to go on that, right? It's
Yeah,
really
so that it is,
ministerial process.
yes, it is the union's decision. You did do a prior resolution recognizing this unit as the collective bargaining. So what you're really doing right now is releasing them as the collective bargaining agent for this particular union. We're really just undoing our prior recognition, which really never went anywhere after that.
That's the prerequisite for the next action on the
Correct.
agenda.
Correct.
So,
Motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the MOA.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next is recognition of Teamsters Local 456 as the bargaining representative for the maintenance staff. So we're going to need a resolution for this. I don't know if any board members have any further questions. We do have Chris Curran, who represents the employees, and we do have union representatives here as well.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us, and
Yeah, if you want to stand up, if you want to say something, you can
So
stand.
everybody online can hear you.
yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys very much for having us. We really appreciate it. And, obviously, I'm here to answer any questions you may have, as well as our representatives from 456. If you have any organizational questions, they're here to answer them as well.
And just state your name so people.
My name is
online-
Chris Curran
Okay.
of the Lewisboro Maintenance Department.
Thank you.
Does the local 456 represent a lot of other similar maintenance employees in local towns?
Absolutely. I'll have Louis answer that, but I know they represent the town of Bedford and the town of Somers. And I reached out to my friends.
So that's a big yes on the next question.
Yes, yes.
Good evening, and thank you for having us here today. My name is Louis Picani. I'm the President and Principal Officer of Teamsters Local 456. We represent 42 municipalities through Westchester, Putnam, and Dutchess County, including Greenwich, Connecticut, which we have 500 members there. We also represent construction, building material, nuclear security officers, attorneys for Westchester County. So we're a wide array of people that we represent. We come in looking to represent the town employees in a harmonious relationship. We work great with all our municipalities because we have to coexist. So we're looking to just basically make sure what you're already doing, give the workers respect and dignity, which you already have here, and just an honest day's work for an honest day's pay.
Thank you. So moved.
So,
Motion for recognizing local 456 as bargaining representative for the Lewisboro maintenance staff.
second.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks.
You're more than
Who else do we have in
welcome.
the audience? I missed that, Mr. Kern. Who else do we have in the audience from local 456?
We have Nick, the attorney is Nick, and then we have Dominic and Anthony. Anthony's the business agent, and you are Dominic's the vice president in attendance.
Nice to meet you all, and I think you and I have spoken.
I was thinking, I recognized your name.
Yes, yes,
Harrison.
yes.
Well, thank you very much, guys. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if not, you
Is it rude if
can.
we leave? Before the FBI comes in.
Exactly. Before you.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
Thanks.
Good
Good night.
So I'll see you at the. Thank you very much, guys.
All right, you're welcome. All right, thank you. Take care. Be in touch. Okay, next we have, this is an agreement with the FBI. They're requesting usage of the town pool for aquatic search and rescue course. I've checked with Parks and Rec. They're gonna quote for, this is August 29th and August 30th. So the pool will be closed to public use and for use by the FBI. So I'd like to motion that we approve the agreement with the FBI for usage of the town pool for the aquatic search and rescue course on August 29th and August 30th.
And this year, we're getting a little revenue from this as well.
That is correct.
A second?
Discussion?
What's the revenue? Is it?
It's $300. And then there's a $500 damage cleanup deposit that will be collected.
$300 a day or $300 for both days?
It's for both days.
So this is not a revenue.
I was
It's not
gonna
a
say, it's not
issue,
really.
it's, We're just trying to be good citizens.
Try to be
here.
nice.
That's our default fee, I guess, for, yeah, for rental of the pool for 2 days.
Well, here's my thought. Obviously, this is something we might want to do for our FBI. That's nice, but I think that this is a precursor to the thought of maybe we should think about revisiting our fees for our, for the assets that the town has, and perhaps we should think about.
Is this the first go round is this the first time?
This is the first time, yeah.
It just seems like a real bargain.
So,
Yeah, on Andrea's point, though, maybe as a way to see what survey around from Parks and Rec, what other, what's comparable as far as renting out facilities, just to make sure we're on par.
As far as I know, Nicole's planning on doing that regarding.
It obviously can't affect our, how we're handling the.
Right, but there's a
Request now.
future event that someone wants to rent on a true for a
Right.
commercial event, and she is looking into other venues to see what they charge
Mhm.
to make sure that we're not lowballing ourselves.
Just sort of related, I was in Yorktown for a session there, and they were talking about renting a pool there, but it was a pool that was like part of it, like an abandoned housing complex. They were renting it for like river rescue training and things like that. I wonder if there was a dollar amount.
yeah, and just to further clarify, it's not for the whole day, but they're using it from 8 AM to 11 AM.
All right,
Oh.
that
it's
makes,
3 hours.
that
Yeah.
sounds a little better.
Okay.
Maybe get some input from the Association of Towns, I guess they may have some info on it.
Mhm.
Okay, so moved.
Second, Andrew?
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
So next is the playground replacement bid. So we received, we went out to bid for the replacement playground for Town Park, and we received 2 bids. One bid was for $721,943.38 from Yonkers Excavating Corporation. The other one was from Nikki Diggs for $1 million, let's see. It's for $1,026,180. So the recommendation was to go with Yonkers Excavating, and we did receive, Pellet Sessions did review the bid responses and their qualifications, and they did recommend we go with Yonkers Excavating. So what we have to decide here is whether we want to accept the bid or not. And so this bid is, the bid we received is higher than we initially. Let me just.
That was gonna be my question, where were we? Thank you.
Yeah, this is just a spreadsheet I put together with some numbers. So the big difference between the original quote we had and
Which was
the
what?
bid specification.
Original was.
The original was 333,000 for this is for the installation and the site work. And so one of the big differences is that once we went through the formal process with engineering and DEC, there was a requirement to do stormwater drainage work. And that alone is $140,000 price tag, which is tacked on to the installation and dismantling of the existing playground and the paving and the different surfaces, the wood fiber and the pour in place material. So we reviewed, when I say we, myself, Pellet Sessions, Greg Foschetti, our attorney. We reviewed the proposal. Joe Tramelli from Kellett Sessions and myself, we spoke to the playground consultant that we've been working with to see, okay, what can we change with the original requirements to get this installation price down and the site work price down. So we came up with a savings of $105,000 by removing and changing some things around with the original specification. So that brought the basically the bid of 721, that brings it down to 616,000. That's that first column you see on that spreadsheet I put together. Which basically means we are, if you take in consideration the SAM grant, which is $400,000, the fundraising by the playground committee, and Valerie and Dina are both here representing the committee. And I'll give them an opportunity to speak as well. And also the town of Lewisboro, the committed bond anticipation note amount of $127,000. We have a shortfall of about $217,000 on this.
My numbers are not adding up. And we have.
So the total amount with the adjustments that Kellett Sessions and myself reviewed with the playground consultant, the total installation and the equipment costs that's already been ordered is $944,000, right? Okay, now you subtract from that the $400,000 grant, the $200,000 in fundraising, the town of Lewisboro ban, which is $127,000. We're short $217,000.
I mean, I heard about the stormwater drainage and the 160. I'm just trying to, I understand, I presume that costs have increased, whatever, the way things have been for contracting generally, but what I'm missing is understanding what numbers we were not incorporating in the early part of the process that are in there now. I'm not, as opposed to just, did we miss a category as opposed to just costs increasing that we didn't bake into the cake before?
Right. It was a combination again of the drainage work, which we had not, was not accounted for in the original estimate that we were provided.
By
right,
who?
that's $140,000 by the initial consultant and their playground installer.
So the initial, so the consultant, when they gave us projected costs, left out that category. They just
Correct.
didn't let us know about 160,000.
140,000.
140,000 in drainage work. So why did that happen?
Because then we had to go through the formal process with engineering design and DEC. And because of DEC stormwater runoff, you have to put in the stormwater drainage system.
No, I get that part.
Okay.
The part I'm missing is why didn't a consultant who's supposed to give us an idea as to what the projected cost of the project miss a significant category of a six-figure category, and they just didn't have it? When I presume we have a consultant for some expertise in advising us what projected costs are going to be, or am I missing something?
Yeah, because he didn't know, it was presented to him that there was DEC wetlands that we had to be concerned about. And the original, when he originally quoted the work, it was basically, he looked at the site. The work was to remove the existing playground, put in the new surfaces and the new playground. Without considering. Yeah, Valerie, if you don't, maybe you can come up.
And if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself for the people online.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Valerie Kenkra. I'm the project manager for the Lewisboro Town Park Playground Improvement Project. I'm also here tonight with Dina Corelli, who is our director of fundraising. One thing to consider in all of this is playground install versus town park space. So I think part of this discussion of why there might be price increases with the scope of work is the overall town park space and not just a playground installation. So I just wanted to bring that as an additional thought as we go through this. Just to reiterate our mission from the Playground Committee, our goal is to create a safe, modern, and inclusive playground for children of all ages and abilities. This play space will enhance the sensory experience while challenging physical development in a social setting where friendships are encouraged. Additionally, our aim is to maintain the natural and scenic beauty of our town and provide a space for multi-generational use. So when you look at this, if you want to go into the scope of work, what changed from November 21st, which is where November 21st, 2021 is where we had our first idea of what the scope of work was going to be. We have, we can cross compares from now, we're in August of 2022. So first off, we're almost 10 months difference. What has happened in 10 months? Well, a lot of times there's percentage increases every quarter. So there's one thing. The site work in particular, this in terms of the scope, we have tree removals, storm drainage, the stone dust trail from the walkway to the stage, a tree well to protect a tree, a timber ramp to go onto the stage area, split rail fencing with gates, and landscaping. So those categories of the sub items that were bidded on in this comprehensive plan are in additions from November 2021. So that's part of the price increases. Why do you say all these things added to a playground installation? Well, it's called hosting community events and getting input from the community. So what did people tell us when they saw us? What did people say when they came to the park for these? I can't even think of how many events we held.
So if I'm,
10?
so Valerie, if I'm understanding you
Yeah.
correctly, I'm just trying to get
Yes.
a handle on the cost. So if
Yep.
I'm understanding you correctly, there was an initial scope essentially.
Yes.
And then by getting community input and from stakeholders, then the decision was made, okay, we want to go this to be a broader project. Essentially, or
Not a
different,
broader-
different.
If
Yeah.
I may.
Yeah.
The fence that she mentioned is something that is going to keep children and participants who may be on the spectrum or neurodivergent from dashing off into the water. It will be a deterrent. I know personally, a couple of grandmothers have told me that they would really, really find important to have for this playground for children.
Well, I'm not
Yeah.
taking it, I'm not,
Yeah.
it's a given for me in this discussion that all the things you're talking about are things that have value and be beneficial and
Which
would be
brings
nice
it
to
to a
have.
community space, not a playground. So that's what it seems like a huge increase, but it's also the big picture. So this comprehensive plan that was presented out to bid is very thoughtful and very,
Well, it's more comprehensive from what it was initially is what I'm getting at, but
Yeah.
I hear that
Yeah.
and I appreciate that. I'm just trying to find out if there was any, somebody dropped the ball in the early part that they didn't project out these costs, which leads, and I understand based upon how the economy is, how the cost of everything is skyrocketing.
So let me give you
That's also a
number.
given. I guess what I'm leading up to here for trying to make this happen and seeing what our options are, is there, and I'd like your input on it, and Tony and I touched briefly on it, is there an opportunity to do this based upon what we're looking to do in phases over the course of, does the project break down in a couple, 2 or 3 years so we can get everything done, one, and two, does that give us an opportunity to go back and seek potentially more state funding opportunities to be able to pay that? So those are two things. I'm just trying to
Those
figure
are
out
the
the best
thought
way to
process of it.
proceed.
Yeah, and Valerie and I spoke about that, about the phased approach to certain things. So the work that we did on Friday to look at what was the itemized list basically takes that into consideration. Is there more that we can maybe trim off of that?
So to give you
Awesome.
one number,
Yeah.
because it's hard to look at the whole thing too, because there's 17 items, right? I believe, if I look back.
Yeah.
17 items that were bidded on, right? So one single item, the playground installation, was originally from that November estimate was 120,400. Sorry, let me say that again. 120,048.39. Today is 137,985,000, which is about a 14%
Yeah,
increase just on the
right.
install alone.
Mhm.
So then you take, okay, what's 14% of the overall project? You're adding another I mean, I don't know who's good at math here, but you're adding a significant increase overall in just the times of that. I think it's important to kind of look at those numbers to compare them. And also the fact that, you know, I say phases, I think when we approached the community and got state funding from Chris Burdick, that part of it was that we didn't have to do the phases of this project. We were given the challenge, our committee was given the challenge of raising $100,000, which we superseded to raise $200,000. So from our point is we doubled what we needed to do. We're continuing to fundraise. We still have our brick fundraiser open. We have portraits in the park that are going to be opening up, as well as additional fundraisers. And we've held that part of it. Now, in the consideration of drainage and pitching and accessibility into the park, that is part of the scope now, because we've had more time to see and have even more community input. As this project started, our group started in 2019. We're in 2022. So to say another phases of this, this is the project now. It needs to get done.
And sorry to interrupt, for the purpose of folks who are online, I'm going to share the spreadsheet that shows what the changes we made would shave $105,000.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, what are we getting rid of in order to bring it down?
And I did share this with the board, so everyone should have it.
This, or this.
The one with the yellow highlight.
Was it in the package?
It was not in the agenda packet, but it was in the email that I sent to everyone last week. I don't have extras here. Or here's one.
Let me ask
If you
this.
wanna,
Thank
if you wanna
you.
look at that.
While we're on this question.
If you don't mind, yes, thank you, Leo. Yeah.
My question is this. So we have a shortfall of either approximately 217,000 or a shortfall of approximately 320,000, right, depending. So I guess my question is, what do you do about that? You know, what are our options of coming up with the additional funding? And then my second question is, if we opt to go with the lower, with the option that gives us the smaller shortfall, and whatever we're doing to make up the difference in the funding includes borrowing or something, is there going to be that much difference? $100,000, I guess my question, you know, when we're paying it back, however we're going to pay this off, what's the difference going to be in the payments?
The other thing is,
that needs to be calculated. I don't know what that is.
and the other thing is, we don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish. And to do this in a haphazard way where something gets left out and then it never gets done. And we need to respect the needs of our community in that we don't want this to end up like tennis courts that don't get used.
I think that's something to consider, piggybacking on that, Mary, is that we're considering the future of this park. How has this park been utilized in the last 2 years? Coming out of COVID, and how the community has responded to these events. Who uses the park? Okay, Parks and Recreation, town camp, cooperating agencies, sports, local preschools, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, the Disabled Committee, I'm definitely forgetting some. Veterans, but who, Lions, right, hosts events. Our committee has hosted events. So putting this money into this area of our community is something to really consider and not take it lightly in this price increase. Additionally, we first were come to the decision in December of 2021 to purchase the equipment separately from the installation, right? Which is that number that we keep on comparing to do this process correctly. And we did that. And we did know making that decision, we could come out less of $330,000 or it could come out more. So we took that risk in a sense of deciding what would come back. I am concerned that if we don't make a decision on this, it'll delay the process even more when the community is counting on this, and I can't wait for this to be built.
And costs are not likely to go down.
Yeah, they're only increasing.
So, yeah. And
So,
one thing
yeah.
to keep in mind also, if you just comparing what we've done at Anshu, for example, we spent $90,000 to upgrade that playground. That was just an upgrade. So here you'd be looking at more than double.
Yeah,
But, yeah,
and we had
It's-
6 companies come for the pre-bid walkthrough, and we only received 2 bids. So if just consider it just as an idea, if this doesn't get passed or approved tonight, we go back to rebidding, we could either get the same, looking at the scope again and how it's changed with that $100,000 decrease of what's changed, which includes taking out part of a pathway, changing some of the materials that I would really want to focus on that. We have to take into consideration that they might not rebid this because they're expecting a level of work that they want to put into this, and we might not get any bids. And then what happens? We're lucky that we have 2.
How many bidders did you go out to originally? Do we know that?
where we had 6 who visited. did
Yep,
site
who
visit,
visited.
and only received 2 quotes.
And only one of them was on site,
Yeah, one of those 2.
one of the 2.
Andrew, is your point that the difference if we're making up a $200,000 shortfall or $300,000 shortfall from the
Well,
the
yeah.
borrowing costs of
Part
that is
one.
not gonna necessarily be significant to do it, right? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
That's my question.
Yeah.
And my question would then be to Leo.
Right.
As to what our options are, how we move ahead in, we're so far along down the path, if we say we're going to do this, right? And, Tony took the time to try to see where we could cut a little bit to make a difference. My question is, what are our options to pay for it, number one? And number two, if we go that route, how much of a difference is it gonna make if how we're gonna pay for it includes borrowing? How much of a difference is it gonna make if we're paying off $217,000 versus $323,000? What are we looking at here? And is it in the long run gonna be worth?
How many
Cutting these
years
things.
can this be spread over?
Imagine
if the borrowing, imagine 15. So I've got my amortization calculator up here for $200,000. This is 5% plus. It's a monthly payment of $1,600. So that's $20,000 a year, which 4,000 households. It means
But that's not-
$5,000 a year.
I mean, the rates are different.
Yeah,
rates are
they have
just-
lower, they
Yeah.
have lower rates. It's
And
So,
Leo,
yeah.
if you don't have the answer now,
it's
if
a
you could
few
get that,
dollars
that
a
would be
year.
great.
It's a few dollars a year, $3, $4.
I know you tend to break it down to its smallest level. But the board and the town
Leo, maybe.
agreed for an X amount of cost.
Mhm.
Now that's no longer the case. So, yeah, you can break it down to $3 per household, but it's still a significant change.
In our budget, $60,000, give or take, is equates to a 1% increase in town taxes.
Right.
So the additional borrowing of over $300,000 to do it right equates to a 5% town tax increase. Not that means it shouldn't be done, but that's the cost. I agree and support the need for this. What we're trying to do here, our issue is trying to find out in a fiscally responsible way to pay for a project which has been increased from what we were talking about in November for over $300,000. For legitimate reasons, for important reasons, for reasons that are going to benefit the entire community and be a project that's going to improve our entire town. So we're just trying to figure out the best way to approach to solve the problem.
So Mike,
So other options are to pull it out of the fund balance. That doesn't get rid of the additional cost per se, because it reduces the fund balance. But That's an option. Another option is do ARPA funds allow for the overage to be used? I'm not certain of that, but we're talking about, quote, an underserved, marginalized group. It's pretty much one of the reasons why ARPA exists.
Yes.
And we've received both components of that now, right?
2 million.
Yeah, and we're planning on having a work session dedicated to ARPA. We're going to be scheduling that.
The other thing that
That's-
just
That's
took
not bad.
place, but actually no money has taken place, but there was a development planning board meeting on this Tuesday, read in the paper, that for the Silver Mine
Subdivision.
project,
Mhm.
there is going to be, as a package, $110,000 of recreation fees, which are going to be paid by the developer in lieu of trails, things like that.
Mhm, mhm.
So as an agreement, they agreed to put up 110,000, but pay quarterly installments. I don't know when it's going to take place. So why am I saying that? Because these funds can be used only for park and rec development. This is park and rec development. So it's got to be approved by the board, of course, got to be approved by the park and rec department. Planning board may have some voice in it as well. I can't speak to that.
So we may be able to earmark approximately a third of the shortfall from the silver mine monies, which would be payable quarterly over the next year or about.
I do not know the timeframe.
A third or half if we go with the reduced scope for the project.
So
I thought the shortfall, let's be clear, I thought the shortfall was $217,000.
It is, but if you go with the,
We take out the things that Tony reviewed that thought, right, you thought
if
those are the
you
things that we
go,
could do with that.
this is also in the packet I sent you. If you remove the this asphalt, and maybe I'll put this up so
Oh,
folks at
this
home
is
can
based on
see this.
reducing that scope.
Yeah, so let me just pull this up here.
Got it.
So for folks at home, the cross-hatched areas would be the areas that would be removed. So basically, this lower loop here is a paved path. So we would forego this paved path. And then the paths that are to remain paved, instead of 8 foot wide, it would be 5 foot wide. I think that's-
4 or 5, yeah.
Or I think it was 5, yeah. And then,
We widened it to, just to give you an idea from the consideration of 2 wheelchairs passing each other, a child on a bike, and an adult walking by. There's also the benches.
was
to
that
give
a
space.
scope change after the November? That was, right?
Yes.
For the water path.
What's
Yeah.
Wider path.
what's your opinion on that, Valerie?
path.
That mod.
What?
Sorry, I'm sorry, I don't listen.
No, what's, I mean,
Yeah.
as far as
Those
what.
changes?
Yeah, on the one that Tony's talking about, how important to that is to what the mission is. If you say, no, it's an integral part of the mission, we really need that, then, I respect that.
There's
position.
definitely changes. So this is a consideration. I don't know, I have this question on it. Just like as if you're getting bids for projects at your home. I know it's different, but is there a way to negotiate with the bidders to go back and say,
So,
we want to accept your bid, but not on this item and line item, the 6 items that we feel could potentially
Can we
be-
counter essentially what you're
Yes.
asking?
Is
Yeah,
that
and
a
I-
possibility?
so I had a conversation with Greg Foschetti, and maybe Jen, you can jump in here. This is where there is language in the bid agreement, which the Yonkers Excavated signed, which says that we can change quantities or delete certain items. But Greg he was concerned that because this was not what they call an ad alternate type bid,
Correct.
that the contractor would not permit that.
So what you just said is absolutely correct. You do have language that does allow you to go, certainly nothing stops you from going back to the contractor and kind of picking and choosing from the bid. but it was not done as an ad alternate type bid, which specifically at the outset lets the contractor know that they are bidding individually and or collectively on all items. Now, this might not seem like it matters, but it matters because some items, of course, are a higher margin for a contractor. So, that factors into their overall number typically. So there is no problem in going back to the contractor and saying, we would like to remove X, Y, and Z, or in the alternative, only include, A, B, and C. But, obviously that they may have a problem with it if it affects their margins, and they might accept it either way.
Well, or alternatively, I guess, as far as a corollary of that, Jen, can we go back? Let's say if the economy slows and actually costs and inflation come down, and there's an opportunity for savings over the next, 6 months.
Well, you
have an
absolutely.
opportunity to avail ourselves of that.
Well, the option, of course, is there to reject all bids and to authorize a rebidding that you could do as an ad alternate. You could also maybe cast a wider net. I think I heard from Greg or someone that this wasn't on BidNet, which is, kind of a larger site, to maybe try to get more bids. And the presumption is these contractors that bid the first time would probably come back in and bid. I mean, that's been my experience. They typically do, especially if you're changing the bid. Certainly if you did it again, I think you would do it as an ad alternate just to kind of get all your ducks in a row, but all those options are open to you.
I'm just going by, for example, that gasoline fortunately has come down 20% in the last 2 months. So if that continues and that passes through the economy as far as
Right,
cost
so-
saving opportunities, I don't know.
Like in the asphalt cost, that didn't come down, yeah.
I'm sorry, Rich, are you saying to somehow, let's say, accept this bid, but avail yourselves of those costs coming down in the future? Or are you just talking about the fact that if we rebid, maybe we'll get the benefit of some lower costs?
It's all in the mix as far as whatever options we have to potentially reduce our costs, however we can do that.
I'm wondering if there are discrete items here where we have the ability to do a quick check, say if the paving of that area is something where, it's easy to get a benchmark. That's going to cost you X per square foot. And geez, you have an opportunity to save $30,000 here. Then, that's something we could, there's no harm in just doing that check.
With the contractor?
Yeah, in other words, you have to ask, say, we're trying to, the budget went up, we're trying to bring it in. And we'd like to ask you to, would you stand by this if we remove the paving out?
Yeah, I didn't think we were allowed to do that. And Jen,
No, you can't, but I think you said two different things there, Dan. You can go back to the contractor and remove items. You can't go back to one contractor and start trying to renegotiate certain items, because of course you can see that you didn't let the other bidders have that opportunity. So that's why you can't.
I'm talking about going to the contractor and say, we'll just use that paving.
You absolutely can remove items and go back to the contractor. Absolutely.
Your trusted sources and our engineer or highway department, what is paving this, going to cost, your plus minus whatever. And if it's significantly lower than the individual price here, we go to the contractor and say we need to pull that item out.
Absolutely. You can pull the items out and go back to the contractor. Just be aware too, I'm hearing, some sense of urgency to move forward, but obviously there's a lot of fiscal concerns. I do want to be clear that if you did go the route of making a motion tonight to award to this bidder and remove items, that motion must include what you are in fact removing, which I don't know if you're there yet. Just food for thought as you continue this conversation. If you're going to make a motion to accept that bid, it needs to be it needs to be complete with what it is that you are, removing.
Another point about timeline is that the equipment is scheduled. This is the third time we're rescheduled delivery, October 15th-ish. So the equipment is going to be here no matter what, because they're holding it. They've been holding it for us.
So there's been no change in equipment,
No, the
Component
equipment's
number, right?
ordered, equipment's ready.
but I mean, there's nothing's changed as far as the equipment that's
No.
been ordered.
No, we did that at the beginning
Yeah,
of the
that
year.
was that.
We did it in December of 2021,
Right, because we wanted to catch.
the price increases.
Yeah.
Which I think there's been 3 already.
I understand the urgency of this. This is just a big
Yeah.
number.
Yeah.
This is, you know, this is not money that we just have sitting around, and the idea of going into fund balance is not making me happy at all. Although, you know, I've heard some other options, and with it personally, without having an opportunity to at least discuss those other options, like ARPA, like these possible funds from the silver mine development, plus, you know, talking about what, you know, and it just, I understand the urgency, but I don't feel that I have enough information to say, let's just go with it, we'll figure it out later. Like, I'm not comfortable with that. And I see that Tony took a lot of time and care to go through to decide what we could potentially cut back or reduce. And I'm not sure that in the long run, that we're gonna be happy about that in a few years. I think it makes sense from a financial standpoint, but then in 5 years from now, we're gonna be like, why would we do that? Maybe we should have thought of it. So I personally need more information before the decision to move ahead, because I think that we have viable options, we just need to flush them out, and I don't wanna jump the gun, and then say, oh, we could have made a better decision.
Leo, do you have any just general concept as to how borrowing costs have changed for the town, say in the last 6 months or a year? Some kind of benchmark, you know, not to put you on the spot, but.
Yeah, it's about 2%. So it would be the same band that we issued last April, probably closer to 3% more.
And the time horizon for the payback is, that doesn't change.
Correct. The ban though, as you know, is issued for a 1-year period and it gets repriced. But we can fix the borrowing for 15-year long-term debt. So right now it's in the ban structure.
So we can move it from the bad structure to the long-term component.
I'm just looking at any time constraints we have, so it's 90 days. Let's see, for a period of 90 days from the date of opening of bids.
Well, the ARPA component, which was a interesting concept, Jen, is there any way for you to get us any insight as to whether that's an available option for us?
I'm sorry, Rich, I didn't hear what you said.
The ARPA funds, if that's a potential source of revenue for us to utilize towards this project.
I want to say yes, it is, based on.
I want to be able to say yes, it is too.
Yeah,
I
No,
just-
no, based on, yeah,
Based
it's
on
considered a
the
government
research
service.
that I did in my capacity, in my outside job, this would be a project that would definitely.
And
fall
based on
under this.
neighboring communities that I've spoken with who are using ARPA funds.
Yeah.
Who I've talked to wanting to know about our project, because they want to do an inclusive playground in their town, are using ARPA funds.
Well-
It's outdoor activity, which was promoted during COVID, things, you know.
What was the
Things that
concept
we
you
need to-
used, Leo? You were using a phrase before as far as the ARPA.
Underserved and marginalized.
Yes,
Well, that may be our best way to go.
it's
Do we,
infrastructure as well,
Which would do for the drainage.
yes,
Yes.
so I think it's a project that would qualify
so maybe,
easily.
maybe Jen, you could give us some kind of opinion on that to see if that's an option. That way we could, and we have that money available now, maybe that's our opportunity to proceed forward.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna agree with the consensus that it certainly seems to fit the definition and I believe, again, neighboring communities have done that, but I'll get you a formal conclusion on that, so you know definitively, but yes.
There's not as much guidance as you would think
Yeah, I know. I was just gonna say, I don't know if that's gonna be, but we're gonna get you what we can.
And there's not that much guidance out there. I think that
Especially if you,
we leave you out there to kind of figure it out on your own.
I have every confidence.
We're gonna have to just give you an opinion based on what we can find. Yep.
Would you like me to give you the community name or no? Does that help?
community.
Community that I spoke with?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Bedford, town of Bedford.
Okay.
Well, okay, so if we're on firm ground as far as that, I mean, my inclination would be to approve the full amount of the increase by utilizing ARPA funds. That's where I'm inclined to go then.
Well, would we use the full amount for the full share of the town, not just the increase, but the original share of the town had in this, right?
We have time to think about that. Jen's gonna give us an opinion, which I think is gonna fall around to what we already know, but it'll be official, and then we can determine if we want to go ahead and do the project without the cutbacks, or whether, you know.
That's fine.
And because we really have to look at the money that we're getting, right? And then we also want to look at it, at least preliminarily, with what other projects, perhaps Tony had in mind, because I'm sure that he's been accumulating them in a list on his desk as to potentials. And that way we can, we can, I think that we'll be able to figure that out by the next meeting.
That would be okay time-wise for you if we had a decision for the next meeting as far as.
Next meeting is September, is it?
I thought I was just hearing that everybody's okay to use the ARPA funds for the shortfall, which would be enough to say we're gonna okay the.
Well,
I
didn't
think we
hear
were
that.
asking Jen for an opinion, and we were gonna have a conversation with Tony just about.
To see what else he's got on his plate for those ARPA funds.
We've got to look at it all.
Yeah, which we need to discuss as a board.
The big picture.
I'd like to get input from
It
others
sounds
as
like
well.
a good idea. It sounds like we're moving that in that direction. There are things that we are unaware of as a full board that may also be on this list that Tony has on.
It's a big chunk, exactly. It's my only
Yes.
concern,
Yes.
that it is a large chunk.
So it's all a portion, and I think it deserves a greater discussion.
And also today is the first time that I'm hearing of the $110,000 from the,
Ben?
no, from
Oh, from
the
the-
Silver
oh, yeah,
Mine
yeah,
project.
yeah. Mhm.
So I would
Right.
like to hear more about that as well,
So
offline.
So there's a big caveat with that.
Yeah.
We don't have it yet.
Right.
And we don't know the timeframe.
Right.
And I believe the builder has requested it be paid out quarterly.
Right, so it's not like we're getting a big
It
chunk.
can't possibly be available for a project that's supposed to happen this fall.
Right.
No, but.
No, but it could,
But you can, since money is fungible, you can use some other available funds and then reimburse yourself for.
Replenish the ARPA, for example.
You could.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's something that we can just easily vote to do tonight without giving it further thought. We've kind of got to look
There are
at
a
all the
lot of
pieces and see how they
moving
best fit
parts.
together.
Okay, but I just wanted to clarify though, like if we reuse other funds, sure it's fungible, but later on, if it's 6 months down the road, say, hey, we want to use Silver Mine funds to pay ourselves back for funding we did, 6 months ago. I'm not sure.
Well, as far as I know, the determination is what those 110 could be used for is made by the board and with the agreement partner department. So whether it's
Okay, that's
whether it's
just-
a reimbursement or an initial outlay.
So, yes, my inclination is if we can utilize the 323, 468 from the ARPA, we should look to do that, but we got to see what else is going to be 1.2 million, and we'll get in Tony and we'll talk about an executive session, but
The other thing is we have to be mindful of the deadline for accepting it as far as the
I mentioned there's a 90-day.
90 days
90 day
from
from the
the
day that it was
opening bid, and I'm
opening bid.
not sure
And
what
so
that date is. I think it's.
I
think it was the 15th.
August
August
15th, okay,
15th.
so it's fairly recent, okay. So we have.
We're good on time.
Yeah, we're good.
Just to take you back to 1994 for a moment, because I had a wonderful meeting with Maureen. And I found some really cool information about the install of the playground that's there. One thing that caught my attention, okay, this is the time of when ADA accessibility was just starting. One of the conceptual ideas for the improvement project was to develop an entrance to the playground area accessible to the disabled, elderly, et cetera. Consideration must be given to access for maintenance vehicles was one of the points. Another consideration was to have separated preschool taught play area should be considered to complement the existing playground area. Fencing should be considered in this area. So when I saw this, I was like, wow, it's almost 30 years later and it's the same thing and it hasn't been done.
Yeah.
So we say it's timing, this is 30 years in the making.
Does the committee, based upon going forward with this, have any projections or any input as to how many people in the community would avail themselves to using the playground?
It's a good like statistical question to find out. I just know from our community events, I want to say at least we had close to 1,000 people at Oktoberfest, and each of our you were there. A lot of people were there. It was a good time. We should do another one.
I'm sure this time.
Maybe we need to.
Yeah,
You're telling me.
I'm
Okay. Yeah. So, and then each of our food truck events, which we hosted 5 of them, we had around 300 to 500 attendees each time. So how many repeats, give or take? I would say at least 4,000 people have been touched by this project in the community. And
it's not just our community either. There are people from other neighborhoods who have come.
yes, and the future of this park. I keep on saying that. Who's utilizing the park? Which community groups? Not just the playground. You know, we've been doing our fundraising for this, but other school agencies, PTOs, SEPTO. We have hosted events there. Parks and Rec. It's just we want to bring the community there, and I think with this space, we're going to have more opportunities for that. More food truck events that are hosted by the town.
We're definitely not disputing the value of the project.
Yeah.
Definitely not disputing the value of the project. It's a matter of what is the best
That's
way to make up for the shortfall. And the
Exactly.
shortfall is not a small one.
exactly.
So
It's a hard one. That's why I came here tonight.
Listening out there, buy bricks, please.
And
That's why I drove 8 hours and came here.
if there's anyone in the community who would like to pay for a fence for $25,000 or a timber ramp for $20,000, please contact us. We'll be more than happy to accept your donation.
Thank you.
Well, it's just important to bring out that thousands of people in our community support this project
Yeah.
and want to see it come to fruition. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure that everybody's aware of that.
So sounds like what we're deciding to do here is table this,
Right.
Yes,
until we get more feedback, so.
and have a
And
more
have-
in-depth discussion.
Yeah.
Do some homework as far as the financing the difference, but I would prefer that we finance or find money to pay for the fencing and everything
The whole
else.
project. as
Please,
originally
yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main, as I said, I think finding what's competing, what else is competing for the 1.2 if we put up 23 to,
Right.
put everything in.
Right.
And our supervisor will enlighten us about that.
I will.
The construction schedule, what does that look like? From the placing of the order, is there, is this something that would still happen this year?
The equipment's supposed to be delivered or on or
October
about
October
13th.
13th.
So
October 13th.
typically, once a bid is awarded, you give at least 2 weeks for the contractor installer to gather and
Pull themselves together.
pull immobilize, right? So that's from my understanding of talking to Joe about the process of like an estimation of a timeline of after Labor Day. Is if this was awarded tonight, Labor Day, middle of September, This would be the site, we would start to prepare for site preparation and the acceptance of the, you need an installer to accept the delivery of the equipment as well. So if you don't have that scheduled, there's a lot of,
It's all connected.
it's all connected, thank you.
And if we this ties into maybe our need for, if we have to have a meeting, just like with the ARPA work session time, that maybe brings everything together.
Yeah.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thanks, Valerie. Thanks, Dina, for
Thank
coming
you,
out.
Dina and Val.
After, how many hours were you on the road? coming home
Eight.
tonight?
8.
8 hours, yeah.
Good time.
Thanks for coming out. Okay,
Disney?
so we've agreed to table this until the next meeting?
Yeah, we should be in
If not
agenda.
sooner.
Or
If not
sooner, if
sooner.
necessary, yeah, if we can.
It would
Okay.
be ideal if we could get this
So we'll do that.
done sooner than later.
Okay, next item
Thank you,
is,
ladies.
Thank you.
okay, the next item is authorization to proceed to an RFP for the salt and wood processing lease agreement. So we do have a lease agreement. And we need to vote to go ahead and put it out for RFP.
Thank you, Rich.
So
We're gonna move that we put this out for RFP, and I want to thank many members of the community for their input on this process, Highway, and the people in the immediate community for their input. It's been a process, but we're trying to make sure that this process is done open and transparent. We're balancing the needs of the community with everything that we need to accomplish here. So move.
have a second
A second.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next item, this was a request from a resident to authorizing or requesting closure of Kingswood Way cul-de-sac for a neighborhood block party on September 10th. And it says here in the email they sent to me that writing to this letter to notify you of our request for consideration of approval for a small block party that we are interested in having on Kingswood Way. My name is Ben Adamo, and I'm a friend of Vincent's. Vincent, I've spoken to on the phone, and a resident of Kingswood Way. The event would occur on September 10th and start at 4 p.m. at the cul-de-sac at the end of Kingswood. The invite list would be limited to those living on Kingswood Way to cap attendance.
We're not invited.
No. We will comply with the town's noise ordinance and will not block any driveways or road access, which was the only concern that we had from highway and police was that there's be no blockage for emergency vehicles.
So moved. It's fine.
Okay, discussion, second discussion, all in favor? Aye. Okay, second public comment, and I want to restrict the public comment only to the agenda items. Anybody here? Public comment? Valerie, you sure? Okay.
If I came at it, you're meeting along.
Anybody on Zoom?
No.
Nope. Okay. All right, so moving on, approval of claims. Motion to approve claims. Second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Polling of the board. I'll start with Mary.
First of all, when I spoke at the Parks and Recs Department meeting on Thursday, August 18th, I said that there were no issues. This is in response to the question by Simone. I was referring to national events. There had been recently a shooting in Buffalo, and I was concerned that some outsider would come, and I wanted everyone to be safe. So I'm not going to apologize for wanting all of my neighbors and fellow Lewisboro residents for being safe. When we talked also about the Parks and Recs Advisory Council meeting, there was an extended conversation about tennis courts, pickleball, and raised tennis courts. I don't think that's the right phrase because I.
Platform tennis.
Platform tennis, that's it. And so if you are interested in these things, please reach out and let us know that you would like to do that because we're looking at renovating the space at Town Park and whether it would be worth it. Then the summer camp was a great event for people as well as teen trucks. There were 521 campers and 132 teen truck participants. So they also did a great job of using 2 classrooms for arts, nature, and lunch at the building formerly known as Lewisboro Elementary. And that was most successful. And the last donation date for the library fair is this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Onatru. So bring your gently used things for attic treasures and unmoldy books for the book sale. And no textbooks, please, or Reader's Digest or stuffed animals. And we could also use some helping hands as well. So if you have an hour or 2 or 5 to help out, you can help out with donation day or the library fair as well. I've been asked and I have gladly accepted. I will be available for dunking on the day of the library fair. So come and get your pitching arm ready.
Andrea.
I think my husband spent the most money when I was sitting in the dunking booth last year.
So you're gonna do it again?
I will. It's also, that's the game plan. My foot is all healed, so that should be, put my husband on notice. Dan and I sit as liaison to our master plan steering committee. And we, at least I, we would like to direct your attention to the town website and specifically the tab for the steering committee, because they are moving ahead. They are now having public meetings where the community can attend. They're going to be looking to move forward with finding those individuals who are interested in kind of leading the hamlets and kind of being the point person for each one of the hamlets. They're finalizing the hamlet maps, give or take a few blocks here and there. If you have input on that, please take a look at the website and see those. But more importantly, we are looking for point people in each one of the hamlets to help organize the input from the residents in those particular areas, its needs, and things of that nature. So again, directing your attention to the website and to the future meetings, please attend. And if you are interested in helping be the point person for your particular hamlet, please let us know as soon as possible. There's going to be workshops, there are going to be tables set up, there's going to be more surveys out there. Their number one goal right now is community input, and they are very serious about that. So, thank you.
Yeah.
It's not too much other than George Latimer, County Executive Latimer, actually came to our sustainability meeting last week. I'm pleasantly surprised. It seems he's everywhere, but I don't know how he does it. But we had a nice discussion and we had a chance to share with him what we've been working on, and then also kind of leave with him some thoughts about how the county could support committees like ours. Thoughts like, the landscaping swap thing, if it could, MRF, the material center could take the scrap, then that would save small communities like this trying to figure that out, or development of a regional composting option, or an EV charging. Maybe the county needs to get involved in doing something like they did with cell towers and do a countywide plan that we could then sort of figure out how we plug into based on the overall effort to provide EV charging opportunities for everybody who wants to get an electric car. So that's pretty much it.
Rich.
Thanks, Tony. Congratulations to the South Salem Fire Department on the successful carnival. I was there on Saturday, missed the first night, and like everything was going real well. So hopefully they,
Was a lot of fun.
yeah. So hopefully they had a really successful carnival financial wise. Tomorrow is primary election day.
That's right.
23rd, so get out and vote and for your primary candidate. And that's from regular voting hours, right, Janet? Regular places, regular
6 a.m.
voting
to
hours.
9 p.m.
Yes. So library fair is, as Mary was talking about, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on that Saturday.
17th,
Did I say that? September 17th?
you didn't, but I just.
Oh, yeah, September 17th. Make sure you have it on your calendar, and it's both Mary and I as former library board of trustee members, that's biggest opportunity for the year for fundraising. It's really important to the operations of the library, and
It's a lot of fun.
it is a lot of fun. Yes, and I'll be doing my parking thing, which will also be fun but tiring. So thank you to the Playground Committee for all the great work, and hopefully we're getting closer to making this a reality for our community. I got some information about in Wild Oaks with the lighting district. I understand, Mary, after I got the information that you're checking into some fixtures that are out. You've been looking into that with NICEAG. You're moving forward on that, so we get some fixtures.
A work order was submitted, and if they answer in like between 3 and 5 days, and so we just said probably 4 days, so hopefully we'll hear tomorrow or later this week.
Okay, so I think there's a bunch out, so we'll be able to address all those in the next, hopefully, 2 weeks or so. Great,
Days.
terrific. Congratulations to the GBHO. Next phase of the Pocket Park has moved forward with the concrete removal. So John Monty, I was getting my bagel this morning, so hopefully things will continue to move forward, and we'll see that project come to fruition as well. Actually, if Tony, you can talk to your buds at NICEAG to make sure that in Wild Oaks with all the infrastructure improvement.
Yes.
Come in, make sure that they come back and take care of the curbs and the landscape. I know that they have to do once the initial stuff gets done, but they'll come in, I guess, in October once they have the asphalt contractor and everything. So I'm sure you'll look after that for us. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so just to jump and add a little more on that. So we did have a conference call with NICEAG, myself, NICEAG, and several representatives of Wild Oaks about a month and a half ago. So yeah, it's on their radar to make sure they do what needs to be done to make sure to get everything back to the way it was before they started their construction work.
Yeah, and I was talking to some of the guys, the infrastructure work they did was really important as far as making sure the electrical supply is going to be good for the next generation. I mean, that's original stuff, I guess, probably goes back 50 years that they haven't updated.
Yeah, and one of the things that we'll have as a board agenda in the near future is they're offering to replace all the lighting, LED lighting, all the street lights. So in addition to fixing what needs to be fixed now, they're gonna.
Are those, they were included in the upgrade that we already did?
No.
Are they, because why were they included?
I don't know. No.
It's strange because I pay a Wild Oaks lighting district tax, which I think Mary was able to find out that that's a NICEAG responsibility, or they take care of that as well. So
Yeah, let's clarify that. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
That was done.
Yeah, they recently reached out with that offer to replace the LEDs. So I think that, yeah,
thank you, Tony, for staying after them on that.
sure.
So that would be a potential savings to the lighting district.
Right.
So that would be great.
Exactly, yeah. So South Salem Fire Department, I was there the last night. It was a great event, well attended. I thought I had the winning raffle ticket, but apparently I did not. So thanks South Salem Fire Department for putting that on. Marissa brought up the 18 units. So the town board has not officially received any request to approve those 18 units. So once we get that, it'll be on the agenda. And then we can discuss it at that point. Marissa also mentioned, and maybe you could send me an email. You were I think you were talking about the visibility to the water plant from the pool, and concerns about that. So please do email me.
I think she was talking about the development. The impression I got from what she said.
Oh, the view of okay, from the pool area. Got it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody should
So-
make sure that they, as a former planning board member, anybody who has input towards what's going on there, they should make sure that they communicate and make their position known to
Right.
the planning board as far as
Right.
that process proceeds through.
That's planning@lewisboro.gov.com. That's their email address.
Now, regarding the water plant, the next steps, as everyone knows, the next step is to put in this filtration system to mitigate the PFAS. We are still quite a ways away from actual construction. It's not scheduled to happen until next year. We're still going through the approval process. Just last week or 2 weeks ago, we received feedback on what was the proposed final construction plans for the expansion. So the County Department of Health provided that feedback. And a few days later, we got feedback from the State Department of Health as well. So that's being reviewed, and it's going to take another round of going back to them. And once I have, and I do owe the community an update, but I was waiting to hear back on, hopefully we would get the go-ahead from the Department of Health, but that didn't happen. So, but I'll put together a communication piece. I'll send out some bullet points on where we are. But that project is we're still moving forward, but of course there's a lot of variables that we don't have any control over. And so that's the latest there. In terms of, I keep hearing about water quality issues. If you can quantify, and Simone, I guess I'll target this at you. If you can quantify what those concerns are. I know in May of 2021, you and I had an exchange and you requested information on a lab that can test the water at your mother's residence there at Oak Ridge. Here we are a year plus later, and I still have not received any feedback on that. So if you can quantify what the concerns are regarding the quality, I can then follow up with the appropriate folks. And yeah, so we did have an issue in terms of water capacity. It was found to be, we're all in a drought. You see this all over the news. There was an excessive amount of water being used for irrigation, which caused our storage tank to reach a fairly low level. And we were being cautious, and we decided to bring in additional water in the form of tankers. After notifying the community that we were in that situation, people complied and the levels went back up to normal. So thank you everyone for doing that. And we're going to keep a close eye on the water consumption and figure out whether we need to institute any sort of irrigation restrictions going forward.
Well, that's across the town, because in Wild Oaks
Correct,
as well.
yeah.
And they've been bringing in the tanker trucks with more frequency. And I was talking to one of the drivers on that. And he said, it's this time of year. He said usage drops off really in a few weeks at the end of September. So if people could just voluntarily curtail their usage, it helps. We adjusted in our townhouse community. We adjusted, had the irrigation company reduce again to the sprinkler usage and cut it down time and days in an effort to save whatever water we can.
Right. So that's all I have.
Can I add one more
yeah,
thing?
go ahead.
I'd like to thank all the people who volunteered to make a difference in Lewisboro. From the people who make the baseball games happen to the Parks and Recs Improvement Playground people. The committee's doing it all on their own time, as well as all of the volunteers for the library fair as well. It's what makes Lewisboro so special. So thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Okay, next, the next town board meeting is September 12th, 2022 at 7:30 PM at the Townhouse, 11 Main Street. And I'd like to motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel and there's another thing,
Real estate.
real
sounds
estate.
like.
I think it's real estate. Yes. Yes.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor? Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Thanks, everyone on Zoom.
From